So, I think we're just about 6:30, so let's call the work session to order. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Dee.
And let's go to the agenda for tonight and see where we are. Okay, we've had the minutes. And I think there was a comment about seeker from council somewhere or something. So,
Well,
go ahead.
they gotta be changed, I guess?
All right, so you want to table these till next month, giving council
Yeah.
time? Sure. All right, I'll make a motion to approve, excuse me, to table the approval of minutes until next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, application review. We have the first one, the hotel. And I had a question about exactly, I was a little bit confused, honestly, given the form of resolution. So Andy, do you mind just kind of, that was from 1993, and the board allowed a larger than permitted freestanding sign and limited future signage on that.
Correct. So they approved a, larger freestanding sign. One of the conditions was that no additional signage be allowed, building or freestanding, until the approved freestanding sign was brought into compliance.
Okay.
Shrunk to 20 square feet?
Right,
Did they do that?
no.
I hear from Delmont.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we'll talk at the public hearing, but yeah, great, thanks.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
And
That's okay.
it meets the height requirements. The new, what the proposed sign does, but it doesn't meet,
Square footage.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's-
the
and
previous,
it's higher than
the previously approved sign was limited to actually 18 feet.
right.
But the new sign is going to be 20 feet, which is allowed.
Presumably, the code wasn't 20 back then for height.
Got an issue.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get a little bit of the history out there too. 'Cause- all right, anything else on that for clarification? No. Number, well, 2, but letter B here. Hey, Pete. Northrop Road, anybody need any clarification on that?
Pretty gorgeous properties out there. That would be nice.
Okay, so on table, the Fairport 9 Mile Point Road has, the applicants requested that that be tabled again.
Right,
That's my understanding, is that correct? Okay, somebody make a motion to table that?
well, I can make a motion to table this at the request of the applicant.
Second.
All right,
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Joe.
Joe.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
That's good.
3-0.
Actually, 3-0.
Mike abstained.
Oh, okay.
He abstained from the whole,
Recused.
from the whole thing, not just this vote. You know that he didn't even go to the hearing. He excused himself from the hearing.
Yes, yes, because it's not even his, there's nothing under seeker for his vote.
Great.
All right, so let's go then to Glendevere's. That was tabled, I think, in essence, to give Goose a chance to get up to speed. And I'm sure you've availed yourself of that opportunity.
Yes, I am.
So we are back, I forget who was lead on this.
Me.
Were you? Okay.
Although I think you made the motion on it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry about that. Did I step on your toes?
No, it's okay.
Yeah, sometimes we invite someone to step on our toes.
Yes, I think it did.
Can I ask a question? Pete, is it too late to provide additional information, or are we?
No, you can provide it. What,
Okay.
we've been working hard on this, as have you, for months, so what the heck?
Okay, so we're here, so I just want to
Okay?
reiterate again, we were here, how many, are we short one board member?
we're short board member.
Okay, so this board first saw the application back in 2016. It was on initial review. from watching the video, the board was very favorable, said go to the planning board, we're going to conduct a coordinated secret review, instructed the applicant to move forward with the approval process, indicated, and I think I'm quoting you when I say, we will support anything that improves the parking. That's in the video. The applicant went through a lengthy approval process, well over a year, which involved both a coordinated environmental review, which resulted in a negative declaration, a determination on a coordinated review, not an uncoordinated review, so applicable for the entire project and to this board, finding that there is no significant adverse impact on the environment. They not only made that determination, but it is supported by findings of fact, which are in the record, in their decision. If you take a look at their review, they went through an extensive, lengthy review process. Not only did they issue a neg deck and site plan approval, but they did also issue the EPOD permit for the excavation, which was fully within their jurisdiction. Fast forward, we come back to this board. In the meantime, we've been to the DEC, we've done the wetlands delineation, we've been to the town board, which also granted an approval, which included a requirement of 3 additional parking spaces to benefit the public, to benefit the community, access to the trail. We come back here. Bob Kiefer was here with Sam Kaiser in February, correct me if I'm wrong? There was virtually no discussion, very little. I think the only substantive comment was to indicate that there was some environmental concern. There was a motion for denial. The motion failed 2-2 because there were only 4 board members present. There was acknowledgement that the parking was improved. The matter was then tabled. It was not tabled, it was carried over to April to allow a full board to be present, which there was a full board. It was tabled.
By the way, to
at that
interrupt
time.
you if I may
Sure.
for a minute,
Yep.
I did ask Mr. Kiefer if he wanted that matter to be adjourned that night when there were only 4 people, and he declined that request.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
correct.
That's fine. So, but in any event, it did get carried over to last month, and we did have 5 board members, and now we have 4 again.
Right.
The concern I have, I have a letter, it's very brief, but I'm just going to tell you what it says, basically. So essentially, your code provides criteria for approval of expansions of pre-existing non-conforming uses. Essentially, that criteria requires a demonstration of an improvement of compliance with the code. The board itself has acknowledged on multiple occasions in the record that we have improved the parking in compliance with the code. We have really no adverse impacts from the existing operation.
Let me interrupt you there, too. So let's just say that this project created 1 parking spot additional. Does that meet your burden if you demonstrated that?
I'm not going to opine on that other than to say it's your code, and yes, that's what it says. It says there has to be.
Oh,
I will
you
read
did
you
just
your code.
opine on it then.
Well, I will, but that's not the circumstance we have here.
I'm
didn't-
just asking what
Yeah.
the level of measurement is in terms of, is it one of reasonableness? Does this board have any discretion whatsoever on in your opinion, on the language of more in compliance? What does that mean?
Well,
1 parking spot.
I think that if you have, yes, if you have added, it's actually, parking is actually an easier one because we have a measurable unit. We can actually
Right.
say we have improved compliance with the code. We have a 77% increase in taking some cars off the road, which is a further compliance with the code, as well as, upgrading other compliance with other regulations beyond the code, such as, stormwater management, and all those other things, which are also part of the consideration. The finding
I'm sorry,
required by the...
May I ask you a
Sure.
question about that? Are you now in 100% compliance with the code on parking?
No, that's not what's required. What the code provides is...
Question?
What the code provides is that we must demonstrate that such enlargement, change, or alteration will permit greater compliance with the provisions of this or other applicable regulations. So we are in greater compliance with this regulation as well as other applicable regulations, which is, it's one or the other.
Excuse me,
And it's
what's
instituted.
that section?
It is section 120-7.13, letter C.
We created the maximum number of additional parking spaces that would be physically possible without infringing upon the buffers to the wetland and staying on our property.
And I'll just go on and say, we are minimizing the detrimental effects of the non-conforming use by improving safety and the appearance of the existing parking conditions, which are on both sides of the street at many times, which is now a town-owned street. The town owns the street and could open this street at some period in the future, and it is beneficial to everyone to remove parking off the street. It is beneficial to the neighbors, it is beneficial to the town as a whole, and frankly, we comply with the code, and it's the board's job to review this application relative to the legal requirements of the code. And furthermore, there's no evidence in the record, and I'm going to quote what the board said in elaborating on the reasons that you attempted to deny this application. Quote, "The cost of the change to the environment and the property was too much for the benefit that would be achieved with more parking." First of all, there's no balancing test in the code for this approval. Second of all, a change to the property does not by itself is not itself a cost. We have no evidence in the record of any adverse impact whatsoever. There's nothing adverse to this change, as supported by the evidence in the record, which is set forth in the findings of the planning board in issuing not only a negative declaration, but issuing an EPOD permit. So there's nothing in the record that would support a denial. I think it would be completely arbitrary and capricious to deny this application without any evidence in the record to indicate that there's not only no adverse impact to the granting of this approval, but that the applicant has actually satisfied the criteria in the code for the granting of the approval. So I think we've met our burden of proof. I'm just going to submit this. It's actually kind of redundant to what I've provided. Well, really what I've done is I've provided your own quotes back to you supporting this application, because that's all that's in the record. There's nothing negative at all in your record.
Am I right, Betsy, that the occupancy will not change as a
Right.
result of this?
There is no change to the actual operation whatsoever. We're not increasing the size of the operation, the hours of the operation, the intensity of the operation. The only change here is to take vehicles off the street and put them in a parking lot.
Well, there is some change to the environment.
There may be a change to the existing conditions on the site. That does not,
Is there going to be any excavation?
there is, but that does not mean.
So that's not a change?
No, I'm saying it's a change, but the change is not, there's no evidence that it's an adverse change.
But you said there's no change. I mean, let's
No change
let's
to
be
the- I said
honest and
no
candid here.
change.
Your client is going to do a lot of excavation and
Correct.
disturb
What I said is
yard.
there'll be no
Let me
change to
finish.
the
I've let you
operation.
talk and lecture, frankly, for the last several minutes. Okay, so let me talk.
Sure.
Your client is absolutely taking steps that is going to result in excavation of thousands, right, of yards of earth. Many people would consider that a big change to the environment. And I understand about seeker and everything that went through. I totally get that. You're using some words that people, particularly I said, but you weren't here and you don't know the full context of that and exactly what those words meant. There is no dispute that this is a big disturbance to the environment. It may be one that some people think is acceptable. That's fine. I understand that. But don't ever say that there's no change here, because that is just, that's belies the facts.
For clarification, I did not say no change to the environment. I said no change to the operation
Yeah.
itself, to the activity.
You said no change to what's happening or something
Well, I
along those lines.
apologize. What I meant, what I
Maybe
intended to say is,
changing
they're not
something.
expanding their business activity. They're not trying to accommodate different, bigger parties. They're not trying to employ more people.
You have anything else to add? I mean, we've been through this, and as I said, other than a lecture, this is kind of redundant as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, well, I do not know whether we should proceed, because the whole reason that it was adjourned was to have 5 members, and I just,
That wasn't the whole reason.
well, excuse me, I wasn't.
And
here, but I
again,
was-
I'll say it again, I gave Mr. Kiefer the opportunity to table it before, and he said no. And if we're gonna have well, anyway, your lead on it.
I don't know, are they requesting to be tabled, or they're not requesting to be tabled?
Do we have the opportunity to poll the members?
No. You want a table or not?
I think we should, so it's your call.
Yeah, let's table it.
I think we will table for a full board.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
All right.
And I will submit this, just.
Any further discussion?
For the record.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who's second?
Second Marie, I agree.
I can
Yeah,
go.
Marie second.
Allison Heights.
Thank you for your time and
You know what?
consideration.
I grabbed that. Thank you. Raleigh?
What you had then?
That's on her letters.
Oh. Whose application was that?
It's mine
Okay.
again. I had a couple questions. Is it still the staff's position that the signs that are presently on there are in violation?
They're not in
Point-
compliance.
Not in, well, not in compliance, excuse me, it's not in violation.
Same thing, I guess.
Okay. The two main signs we're talking about, thank you very much for putting them up, very helpful.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can see just exactly what those look like. How long are you requesting this board to give you permission to have those in place?
Until August.
Till, like, August 1st, August 31st?
August, we'll go for August 31st.
Good
Just to be safe.
That would be what I would guess.
And this is because of the construction
Correct.
ongoing, okay.
One that's also leasing season, March and August.
Okay, you got a lot, I don't have a problem with the two main signs, the two yellow signs, where they are and what they look like, but I have a problem with the rest of the signs in the front of that building. You got a construction, entrance sign with a construction entrance sign. You have a second fairly large sign that says no trespassing at the top. It's got some more information below it. You have the Ellison Heights in yellow, which we hadn't talked about. You have some A-frames on both sides of, both ends of Old Penfield Road. You got an A-frame at the entrance, and you have 4 flag pennants on Old Penfield Road. I think you're allowed 1 exterior.
You're allowed 1 real estate sign. We actually issued a permit for the larger yellow leasing sign.
EllisonHeights.com.
Yes. So that one's in compliance.
Okay.
All the other ones are in addition, or not allowed by code.
Okay. So, I guess my position would be, I don't see why you need the A-frames on each side of Old Penfield Road. I'm willing to allow 1 flag pennant, not 4, by the entrance on Old Penfield Road. I think basically it doesn't interfere with any other use of property in the area, really, and it would help to identify that entrance. So I guess with that in mind, I don't think you need the A-frame there either. So I would say those would go. So my motion would be 1 pennant
Can I ask a
sign.
question
Yes.
before you do it?
Sure.
You have construction entrance,
I
right?
got to those.
On Penfield
Oh,
Road.
I'm sorry, no, I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay.
So,
Okay, what is is there another entrance that you don't want construction workers to go in?
So those signs were put up by DGA, actually, the construction signs, so I can't really speak for their signs. But construction workers are only allowed to use that entrance at this time, until November 1st.
That's the only reason that sign is up there?
For the DGA signs that say no trespass,
DGA is the contractor?
yes. So I can't really speak as to why. I know they also said because of safety, obviously we don't want public just going through there, and ruining the cars. It's pretty simple for
Is
them.
there communication between you and the contractor?
Yes.
And they know that, so that they're up there, oh, you're okay with it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we're looking at, due to the construction and the traffic concerns over there, that this is more of a safety issue for them identifying the construction entrance and that it's okay.
So is there actually a permit issued for those?
I believe we did issue a permit for
for both of them?
Yes.
The no trespassing and,
Not for the no trespassing, no.
Does that need one?
Technically, code allows no trespassing signs, but at a much smaller size.
yeah, that's only the top line. A very big sign.
Okay. She answered my question. She didn't answer it, but I think I know why they're up there.
So I would, well, all right, so what, you're telling me they have a permit for one but not the other? So there's no control over what they put up? Or are you telling me that you viewed that sign and you don't have a problem with it as the staff?
Well, the code for construction sites or development, they'll allow one development sign per site. So technically, if they want to call it a real estate sign or a development sign, code kind of treats them all as the same, and you're only allowed one technically.
Okay.
But because of this specific situation, there's two. Okay.
Yeah.
The two entrances you mean? or
Yeah.
No, but they're both at one entrance.
But there's two signs.
Two signs,
We issued a permit for the yellow Ellison.
right, but that's a totally
Right
separate,
side.
that's below the second sign.
Let me ask you this question. Has there been any labor problems on the job? In other words, say union, non-union,
I don't think they have pictures.
someone
Yeah, there's
not
one here.
liking who's doing the job?
Okay.
Not
so
that I'm
who's-
aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be a
Well,
DGA question.
that's why, when people set up two gates,
These are-
okay, usually
No,
it's to make
no, they're
sure
asking-
that if a union pickets, they can only picket that gate, which is the most ineffective picket. That's why my question.
Oh.
I'm still not sure I got an answer.
I think we would look at that DGA builders, no trespassing sign as, that could be considered the one development sign that's allowed by code. We don't really specifically regulate what can or can't be on the sign.
Okay, and then actually below where that is in the picture is now the Ellison Heights
Yeah,
banner.
we actually issued the permit for the Ellison Heights sign, which I would say then that we probably did not issue a permit for the DGA builders, no trespassing sign.
But they can have that.
Technically, no. They're allowed one 32 square foot sign per site by code.
Do you see anything, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's
but
okay.
unique about this build or this development that would lead you to be a little bit, let's say, more flexible than in the typical construction projects? Because it seems like you have been, honestly.
Yes.
And that's fine by me. If it's appropriate, that's fine by me.
Yes, we have been. I mean, there have been a lot of traffic issues
Right,
and
yeah.
concerns there, so it's
Okay.
kind of.
And safety is paramount, so. But I don't know if that addresses your concern or not, Mike.
I guess the thing that's making me uncomfortable, there's a lot of signage there.
Yeah,
And a lot of
yeah.
big signage. And
Right.
they're asking us to add two more signs, which I said, I see the need for them, and I don't have a problem with where they are or what they say.
Right.
But
But you want some of the other stuff to go away?
Yeah.
Did you get where he's coming
So
from?
now we got a third sign, but on the other hand, if this is not, if you're not putting the signs up, you have no control over what the construction companies do.
And Andy's mentioned that it's not the typical construction project, so, yeah, for you to say you want that one to come down, as a condition of approval is, I understand it, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough to get it.
So I'm gonna allow the staff to continue to monitor it and make the decision on it.
Okay,
So we're back to those two signs. Are those the signs that are actually gonna be there? I mean,
Yes.
that's in
That's
their
it.
present form? Okay. So take out the two A-frames on each end of Old Penfield Road. And the one at the entrance, one flag pennant at the entrance on Old Penfield Road. That would be my motion. So the two signs, everything else stays, well, that's the only thing they're asking for here. And one of the flag pennants.
I'll second it.
you guys have that? You guys, by the way, you've noticed these checklists here
Yeah.
that, we'll talk about those afterwards, but in order to help with the preparation of the resolution, I think we should just go through this a little bit. Yeah, we still have a few minutes. Because that's what the request is for, right? Special permits?
Yes, it is.
All right, proposed sign is in harmony with the standards for permitted signs within the spirit of the article. Yeah, I think it's a temporary signs, because of the location of this. There's obviously more visibility and more traffic on Penfield Road rather than Old Penfield Road. So I think, you know, I think it's within the spirit of allowing location of where the entrance to this project is, particularly for leasing purposes. I don't see where it's detrimental to neighboring properties. Again, it's not going to be up for very long. There's no properties directly across from this,
Right.
so it wouldn't affect it there. I don't think it creates a hazard to the public in general or neighboring properties. If anything, it makes it more safe. I don't see any interference with enjoyment of public highways.
Especially because it's temporary.
And I think there's been enough talk about the proposed sign being necessary to adequately identify the business and more particularly the fact that it's open for leasing.
Okay, so your motion includes findings that all 5 of these criteria have been met,
That's
which is
correct.
required. Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve, and did we get a second? Marie?
That was Joe.
Oh, Joe. So Mike made a motion to approve, Joe seconded it. We have the standards met. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just to clarify, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
He
they
was about to
applied,
get up and leave.
It's all right, I've been here enough times, I don't mind it anymore.
Not as many times as other people.
so we got the one flag is okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna remove the two off-site
A-frame.
A-frames.
They're pointing the wrong way right now.
Yeah.
I noticed
I did
that.
notice that.
The two 4x12 signs,
Are allowed in their present location as situated.
well, they're proposing two additional 4x12 signs. Did you put those up?
No, they're up.
No, yeah, they're up already,
They
so,
are.
And they're the ones that
They're
they're
the ones
actually
we're
gonna
talking
be.
about.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a demo.
No,
Right.
this is not the DGA builders sign we're
Right.
talking,
Right.
okay? So the
Those are in
two,
your pocket now.
okay, the two 4x12s are okay,
Right.
and I think,
Until August 31st.
Right.
How are you guys doing with rentals? Is that
it's been better,
Good.
traffic has been better the last few weeks.
good?
okay, thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Oh, it's actually still not even 7 o'clock yet. All right, so we've talked. Yeah. Tables are done. We talked about tonight's for clarification, so we need a break or no? We good?
We can go right up. We just need to get a
Okay.
couple of waters.
So, yeah, I'm gonna get some water as well. So let's go 2 minutes and then we will start the public hearings. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight's meeting is going to take place in 2 parts. Part 1 will be our public hearings. We'll ask the applicant to come up to that podium there and give us name and address, and then explain to the board why the relief being requested should be granted. Very likely, board members will have some questions for the applicant. Once we're done with that, we'll invite anyone in the audience that cares to come and speak about the application to do the same thing. Come up to that podium and give us name and address, and then comment on that application. After the public hearings are adjourned, we'll take a brief recess and then reconvene in the back of the room to deliberate on tonight's application and take care of any other unfinished business the board may have. Members of the public are certainly welcome at both the public hearings and the deliberations, although generally that time deliberations is reserved for conversations amongst board members with staff, and with council. Short agenda tonight, so I don't know how long we're going to go, but there are only 2 applications. We've already taken care of the tabled ones. So again, you can stay if you like. Do not have to if you don't. You can call staff tomorrow and find out what action the board took on any particular item. We always like to point out every meeting that we think the town does a good job of notifying neighbors and citizens in the town that applications are going to be heard. The town does that by providing a general description of the application in the form of postcards to nearby neighbors, posting the application on the town website, having the applicant put a sign in the yard, and we feel it gives enough folks information that if they care to learn more about it, they certainly can reach out to the town and then decide whether or not that they want to comment on the application. And usually it works pretty well. So that being said, I ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Okay. Geez, I almost said Harold. Almost.
Oh, wow.
Andy, may we have the first application, please? For not saying Harold? Yes. Okay. Oh, all right.
Del Monte Hotel Group, 909 Linden Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14625, requests a special permit under Section 250-10.3-A of the code to allow a building sign and a larger freestanding sign than permitted under Section 250-10.12-B1 of the code at 1000 Linden Park. The property is owned by Penfield Hotel LP and zoned limited industrial, SBL number 138.12-1-8.11, application number 18Z-0029.
Do another rendition if you guys want a closer look. If you guys want it. Here's the rendition. Here's specifications on signage as well. Yeah, I think you have everything already in the permit. All right. So we are applying to replace our current pylon sign located at 1000 Linden Park, Rochester, New York. We will be bringing the sign up to the most current design standard.
Excuse me, sir?
Yep.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Dan Duffy, Del Monte Hotel Group, Corporate Engineering Manager, 909 Linden Avenue, on behalf of our Penfield Courtyard at 3100 Atlantic, at 1000 Linden Park, Penfield, New York. So we're applying for a variance to change our pylon sign located at 1000 Linden Ave Park, Rochester, New York, to be brought to the most recent design standard issued by Marriott International. We are asking that we be granted a special permit for signage specifically to allow us to increase the sign face to the allowed 20 feet, from the allowed 20 feet square to 43 feet square per sign face. In 1993, we were granted a special permit to allow for a sign totaling 107.2 square feet, and as we now need to update the sign of the current, we are asking to be granted a special permit. As you can see, the new sign is actually smaller. Instead of totaling 107.2 feet, we're doing 43 feet per sign face. So a smaller sign than that was there originally, and per the specifications, we can see it totals at a total height of 20 feet. It'll be in the same location as the previous sign, and we're asking for a special permit for that.
Color of the sign?
Per the rendition, it's pretty much black, like a very dark gray.
Okay. And there's an area of the remodel portion here where the sign's going?
Yep.
Is that backdrop the way it's going to be?
Yes, so they're block letter sign, letters, so there's nothing but the actual facade behind each letter.
Okay, that's there now.
It is not there now. So on the building, we're not allowed to put the sign on the building, even though it is allowed until we got special permit for the one that
Sure.
we have the permit for.
No, my question is there's like a two-tone background already in place? That
On the
wraps-
building.
Yeah, that
Yep.
wraps around. Is that going to change, or is that staying the way it is, and then you're adding the lettering on top of that?
We're adding the lettering on top of it. So the building's just as it appears now without the sign after our renovation. So the sign would go where indicated on the existing facade with nothing else behind it.
All right, and that's going to be white letters?
Yes.
What type of material?
It would be, the exterior would probably be aluminum and infilled with plastic and then LED lit.
So it's internally lit.
Yes.
And how about the pylon sign,
Pylon sign would be the same, internally lit with LED.
the letters?
Yes.
And no other lighting on the background?
No.
The existing sign is 18 feet in height.
Correct.
Why
I
the
think,
extra?
I don't know, I don't know that, to be honest with you.
All right, well, that was what was approved.
Okay, I don't know that it was 20 feet. Actually, I think it might be, or I don't know if it was 18 feet. I can't speak to it, so I won't say yes or no on that.
So how did you come out? And the current code allows 20 feet.
Right.
Is that why you're using 20 feet?
I'm assuming that would be the reason, yes.
Okay, so there's no particular reason that would impact visibility?
No.
Okay. And this is more to keep in line with the standards?
Yeah, we had what they call a PIP from Marriott, which requires us to bring the entire property up to Marriott standards to be able to maintain a contract with Marriott, to use them as a franchise, or to be a franchisee for Marriott. So we had to bring the whole hotel up to Marriott standards, so we did the full renovation, and this would be the last portion for us to finish the renovation.
Do they actually dictate size of signs?
I mean, it would be, I'm sure there is some flexibility with local mandate, but
Sure.
in general, this is actually smaller than what they typically would probably want.
Okay. Have you had any issues with people having problems identifying the building because there's no sign on the building?
We do, in general, have an issue, people finding the building. For one, signage is reduced. There is no sign at the bottom of the hill where the entrance for the road is. We can't figure out any way to do that
And
within code.
unfortunately, even with this sign, you're not going to be able to see it at the bottom of the hill.
Right, it still isn't going to fix that problem, but I think it will help identify the hotel a little bit better.
Okay, so there is an advantage to actually putting the sign on the building. Particularly since the pylon sign isn't tremendously visible coming up the road, right? From
Right.
Up the hill. And I just want to make sure I understand this. So originally, the total signage, which was just the pylon sign, the freestanding sign, was approved for 107.2 square feet?
Correct.
And now what you're really asking for is two faced 43.5 feet signs, square feet, plus 67 square foot building mounted sign.
Correct.
That's a total of 157. And I think, how much per linear foot, Andy, is allowed on building mounted?
2 square feet,
Okay.
but because this is an industrial district, there's actually a
400?
400 max.
So it's well under the total.
Yes.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Anybody else?
Just one, Dan, I have a very obvious question for you. Are you going to keep the signs lit 24 hours?
Nope, the signs will be.
No.
Nope, signs will be on a, either a photo cell or a time clock, so they wouldn't be on during the day.
So at night, if somebody kind of comes in your hotel during the day and then leaves and comes back after dark, you don't have a problem? You don't think that's a problem?
Oh, the signs would be on all night, they just wouldn't be on during the daytime.
Oh, I apologize, yes. Okay, that's why not 24 hours.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, Jim. That's a good question.
Duh.
Good question.
Okay. Do we know, all right, so 100% of the reason for your application is because this is what corporate wants?
Correct. Corporate Marriott sign, the style of the sign has changed. So to
Okay.
fulfill our franchisee agreement with Marriott, we have to bring the property into their standards.
And does the same apply to the building mounted sign?
Yes.
Okay. None of it has to do with your occupancy rates or wanting to draw more business or anything like that? Obviously, there's a new hotel down the road.
Sure.
And by the way, I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. Different type of hotels?
Yep, so it's a different brand.
Yeah.
A different company completely. Hilton
Sure.
to Marriott, it's like Burger King to McDonald's, I would say. So,
Okay.
Which
one are you guys? Burger King, McDonald's?
I guess we'd be McDonald's because it's bigger. But Marriott's the largest hotel company in the world. So.
Okay.
Not that we're Marriott, we're just a franchisee. So.
Right.
But really, that doesn't have as much of an impact on it as the
Right.
fact that Marriott comes through basically on a property that's up for renovation, and then they say, they give you a laundry list of items that they say are required per their specification. Like, for example, previously we had 2 twin beds in a room with 2 beds, or 2 fulls, and their requirement was to make them queens. So we had to go through, change all of them to queens. There's a million things, but
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
just one
It's just,
example.
honestly, a lot of times we hear applicants coming in for signs to generate business reasons.
Right.
And okay.
The building sign, above and beyond the fact that, Marriott wants additional signage, is also to identify the building. We have people that guests will come in, they'll come to the top of the hill, they can't see the pendant sign because at where you enter the hotel, they pull up there, they're like, is this the,
Right.
Marriott? And they're like, yeah, this is it. So it would alleviate some confusion with
Okay.
that portion too.
Were you employed there in 1993?
I was not.
Okay. I had to ask. So you're aware of this resolution from 1993. This board said, hey, no more signage until the pylon sign comes into compliance.
Yeah, that's what I was told.
Yeah.
Was the,
So the new freestanding sign you're proposing still is larger than permitted?
correct. We have reduced the size, and
Sure, I get it.
It does fit the height requirement, but the total face is larger. That's why we're here for the special zoning.
I'm just trying to square your application with the language of this now
Gotcha.
nearly 25-year-old resolution. Okay. All right, so in essence, if I'm hearing you correctly, deviation from that prior resolution is justified in this case because times have changed, Marriott has changed its look and its facade, so to speak, and this is more in keeping. Okay. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or comments on what the pressing need for that was back in 1993, and if that's kind of gone away.
I think I looked it over and thought about it a while because it was
Yeah.
my lead. Obviously, they wanted visibility from 441 with a larger sign because, and you only have a certain limited range where you could put that pylon sign so it would be visible and still have enough time to exit
Right.
on Panorama Trail to get up there. So I see that's pretty obvious that that's where they were going with that. But I think we like to be consistent, we like to follow what prior boards have done, but it sounds like from reading that resolution that it was a different time.
Right.
And
I agree.
back then, the standards were, we've done a lot of things with bigger freestanding signs and one building mounted sign. Sometimes we've given to, it's just a different, I don't really see why they're limited to no building mounted sign. It's not visible anywhere but coming up the road from, it's certainly compatible with the signs that, for instance, IDE has in front. They got signs all over the place on this
Right.
building, so.
Right.
I don't see a problem. I don't think it's very.
And this is really, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
no.
this is, a lot of times we hear applications for excess signage on places that, when you go there once, you know where it is. This is,
It's a little tucked back.
Yeah.
It is a little bit difficult to
Okay.
find sometimes. So we do get complaints from that.
Yeah.
And the new sign's still not huge. It's only 12 feet by 3
Right.
foot by 7.
right.
I was only 9 at the time.
The time of what?
Okay, anything else from the board? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Stephen Hake, 1235 Northrop Road, Penfield, New York, 14526, requests an area variance to allow an accessory building with less setback than permitted under Section 250-5.1-F12B of the code at 1235 Northrop Road. The property is owned by Stephen and Helen Hake and zoned RA-2, SBL number 110.01-1-5.3. This is application number 18Z-0030.
If you don't mind, before we start, I just, you heard me do that little intro spiel as I do before every meeting about the town notifying folks of applications, and there's a reason for that, and that's because we all live in a community, we all have rights to use our property as we see fit within the law and within the regulations, but we also have the obligation to make sure that we're using it in a way, at least to consider that we're using it in a way that's compatible with property surrounding us. And that's one of the reasons we do that, and frankly, that's one of our jobs to consider that. So I just want to say that everybody's entitled to his or her opinion, and we should all respect that.
Exactly. And I wouldn't want to live in a town without good zoning codes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a few handouts that you guys could use during my brief presentation. You can just take a look through a few different photos. Thank you, board members, for giving me the opportunity to present this application. Basically, what I've decided I wanted to do is put an addition on to my existing accessory building. At the time I built the house in '99, as you're aware, there was a restriction of 300 square foot maximum. And that worked out okay for a short period of time. But with 3 acres and 2 acres of lawn, you acquire, I'm one of the only ones in the street still does his lawn, but I enjoy it. I got a zero turn, snow blower, leaf sweeper. My temporary solution was the canvas thing. It's hideous. It was a temporary solution. My enclosed trailer, I want to get rid of. I don't use it anymore, but it houses a couple bicycles. I have a convertible for the summer. You just end up with a bunch of toys. And I decided I wanted to go with an addition that would accent the look of that in a barn style and do it 30 foot by 30 foot. plus my 300 square feet would put me still under the 1% maximum for the town allows for the property size. But what I wanted to do for aesthetics and for 4 or 5 good reasons is I wanted to place it starting at the center line here and go 30 feet to the east. You can almost see that pin right there I put in would be my edge. What that would do is, that would allow me to use, I always had the driveway going past the existing building, that would allow me to have an overhead door into the addition on the left side. If I were to try and comply with the 50-foot setback, it would, to give you an idea, this is 41 feet to the edge here off the lot line. If I tried to comply with the 50-foot, it would start here and it would go in this direction. Now what that would do would take away a beautiful mature 3-clump birch tree, the only one I've been able to keep and fertilize every year to keep that maintained. But I also have my grandson's playhouse, which is just a structure sitting there, but it's with a deck and a few other things, it's gotten big. The tree provides shade, so I wouldn't want to lose that. I also have this area where the canvas sets and the trailer sets. Years ago, I had that 20-foot by 30-foot dug out in gravel. So I've already got quite a bit of the gravel I'd need for the structure. If you look at some of those pictures, I took a bunch of pictures at different angles, you virtually wouldn't see anything from the property to my east. From the property to my to the west has a row of mature, like 25-foot pine trees. That would not be an issue. But if I was also to try and shift it over to comply, not only would it take away all this and make me have to bring in another driveway or do something different, it also takes away, it sits right in front of my patio. So I wouldn't be able to look straight back at the 1 acre of woodlot back here. And the one thing you're looking at too, there's the tape location map in there. That's a tad deceiving because it looks like the lot line's right behind the structure, but it actually goes back another 400 feet.
Excuse me.
Mr. Grusenmeyer, you actually stopped over and took a look at it.
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. I was hoping somebody would, because it's kind of, when you look at it, and unfortunately, I had to blow up probably the least appealing picture of my property, but it's a nice looking property. It sets back nice. I'm in the process right now of stripping off the siding. That was supposed to be last year's project, and I'm replacing all this worn out siding with a natural board and batten wood stained dark, and I wanted to match the addition the same way, and it would also be with a gambrel roof and a barn style, so it would kind of look like you had two of them. There was a rendering also there that kind of gives you an idea what it would look like.
Yep, I saw. No? I know it's here somewhere. You gave us enough pictures.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, that sketch rendering's in there somewhere.
Right here.
Just, okay, good. That kind of gives you an idea what I want it to look like.
Overlapping.
I think it would be really aesthetically pleasing. It would look really nice there. It would neaten up. It would be able to get my little utility trailer inside. It would give me a place to store my convertible in the winter. Right now, I take it out to Wayne County Fairgrounds and store it. And I just kind of want to get everything there, nice and neat. And I would end up with an 18-foot setback if I went right where I'd like to do it.
Yeah, which you need 30.8-foot variance is what you're looking for, right?
Yes.
Okay. These are nice pictures so that we can understand about the birch tree and your kid's playhouse, your children's
actually,
playhouse.
it was my son's, and now it's been handed down to my grandson, so that's as long as they actually, like 25 years old.
Right. And you said, I saw your old I'll call it a barn, okay? Your own storage bin was stripped in the front, and that's what my question was going to be. Are you trying to match it to the new?
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to tell you. That was actually a project I wanted to do before I even thought of this spring, was I wanted to go with more of a natural board and batten look in a natural pine, similar in color to the playhouse. I wanted to give it more of a rustic barn look, and yes, I would want to do the same thing on at least the face and the side, if not the entire thing, in that same type of wood. Let's see, there's one other thing I wanted to say while I was looking at that picture. Oh, and the only reason I kind of rushed and started getting that siding stripped off quick was because I kept saying a good place to take all that excess siding when I tear it down would be our spring cleanup. And then I realized, I looked on the phone, I'm going, oh, it's this weekend. So my big hustle's been to try and get that taken down and get it over this weekend. But I have actually started on the board and batten. I've got some soffit done. I've got a little bit on this side. I think it's going to look sharp. And then I'm going to have the door replaced with, actually, they make some cool looking barn style doors that'll be in a brown accented, and this one will be identical. So when you get done, it's going to look like one nice, neat structure.
Okay, are you going to add any electricity out there, lights?
Right now, that has lights and it has power. And I'll probably just do lights and a couple plugs in the new addition also.
Okay, an exterior light?
I'm actually, right now, this has had 3 floodlights up on top. I'm probably, for aesthetics, I'm trying to make this look really cool. I'm going to put some corbels up here, and I think I'm going to go with a couple of cool-looking coach lights on either side.
Okay.
And I may do something similar on the addition.
All right, now, I guess you're looking for a variance from the east side.
Yes.
Explain how high that fence is that we see there, and explain what's on the other side of that fence.
You've got a picture that actually
Yep.
shows it pretty good. The fence is 6 foot high. This is a row starting right about there. This is like 30, 40-foot arborvitaes all the way down. But on the other side of that fence, there is a similar canvas structure in green, and then there's also a shed, a good size, not quite as big as that.
Yeah, good, you did show it, so I knew
Yes.
it was there.
That's the picture I wanted you to see.
Okay, now, if we grant this variance, will you remove the tent and the trailer,
Oh,
and that'll
yep.
be gone?
Absolutely. Yeah, I even gave you a picture of the inside of it, not a flattering picture. But one thing that came along with my precious 4-year-old grandson is a lot of big plastic toys. And yeah, I want, this will be gone. This I haven't used in years, but right now I'm just storing things in it. The minute that's built, I want to get rid of it. I want nothing outside. I want it nice and neat and have everything inside. Every fall, bring, back the convertible in, cover her up, and bring her out in spring.
Sounds good.
That's my
I'm
goal.
done. Anybody else got?
This is, to me, kind of an obvious question. Since you generally look to grant the least amount of variance needed, what's to prevent you from doing the same structure you have and moving it so that it's lined up on the, I believe it's the west side? You understand what I'm saying? Instead of exposing the back building and have a garage door and a window on the left-hand side, why couldn't you just shift it so that it sits totally behind?
Well, to give you an idea, this is only 15 feet wide. And I'm looking to do 30 foot wide with that. So if let's say I started right on the east side here, which is 41 feet off the lot line, then it'd be 15. I would still need another 15, which would get rid of the tree and probably have to move the playhouse. The big thing with the tree and the playhouse, that gives me all the shade. That's the reason I originally put it there.
What I'm saying is, what if you took this and moved it to here?
Oh, just take the right side of the back one, line it up with the right side of the front one?
Yes.
The only thing, the problem with that is aesthetically it wouldn't be as good with the way the 2 gambrels would go. But the other thing is it gets rid of the 3rd clump. I looked at it carefully, and that's about as far over as I can go in the center, or I take away a good chunk of that tree.
Okay.
This is maybe 4 feet off the edge here. So if I tried to go there, it would be fairly devastating to the tree. And I'd have to get rid of at least that one clump that heads up to the left. I kind of laid it out every way I could think of. This works out absolutely perfect because I do have so much room on this side. The driveway goes up into it. Aesthetically, it would look great, and it wouldn't affect any of this stuff here.
All right, I understand. Thank you.
I was at your property yesterday, I can't remember, do you have a 2 or 3 car garage?
2-car.
And,
In hindsight, should have been a 4-car. You don't realize, I came from a single-car garage, single-car driveway from Arundequite, and this was like utopia with a 2-car garage. But then I bought that darn convertible in 2004, and she took up one spot forever. And I gave the other spot to my wife.
so the garage is full,
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
full.
As a matter of fact, the spot where the T-bird is in the summer, when I bring it to storage, I quickly start bringing a snow blower out and all the stuff out, and it gets filled up. So then I got to kind of repack it to get the Thunderbird back in the spring.
Is that your fence or your neighbor's
No,
fence?
that's not my fence. That's my neighbor's fence.
Okay,
It's right on the lot line.
okay. Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have.
Other than storage, do you have any intended use for the expansion?
No, other than storage, no. This ultimately, I'd like to keep this more empty, and I even showed you a picture of that, just because I like that as an empty workshop. Right now, if I want to do a project, work on something on a weekend, I kind of pull things out of there. Right now, there's a little garden tractor sitting in there. Ultimately, I want to walk in and say, hey, I want to work on this today, and not be moving stuff. So things that are in here, I'd like to organize in the back of storage.
Okay, so, given your answer, would you object to a condition of a variance being that no activity, that the addition is used for nothing other than storage?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, in other words, no repairs going in there, no power tools being used, nothing like that?
No raising pigs, none of that stuff, strictly storage.
Okay. And can you, have you looked at the possibility of effects on drainage from adding all the additional roof material, and what can you tell us about that?
Actually, given that some thought, this I never got around to putting gutters on. When I get done, this is going to have gutters. The new structure will have gutters, and I'd like to channel those into behind it, behind the new addition, a couple of rain barrels. My grandson, one picture, there's a pumpkin patch in there for my grandson. That will give him a way to water that back there, and I figured it'd be kind of a ecological lesson for him too on wasting water and rainwater. So I thought I'd do something like that, but it will be guttered.
So just, oh, go ahead.
Is there drainage problems there now in that general area or to the side?
Oh, absolutely no. I've never had an issue, thank God, with water, basement or anything. This will get a little bit in that springtime snow melt. This will get a little, you don't want to walk there, it's sloppy, but other than that, no, I've never had an issue.
So there's nothing on the side, on the east side or towards the rear?
No, no, never had any issue with any water settling, except, like I say, in the spring when the snow melts, maybe this gets wet, but never had any standing water or any issues.
So,
Okay, okay.
so just to follow up on the drainage issue, you're talking about rain barrels, but given the size of the structure, those rain barrels are going to fill up really quickly.
Yes, they'll have overflows. They'll have overflows, and I'll probably have downspouts going out into the back.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll contend with that. That's a thought I had, recently when I thought about guttering it, that I want to capture some of the water with a couple of rain barrels.
Right.
Mainly because I'm trying to teach my son, or my grandson, with the pumpkin patch and stuff and sustainability.
Sure, it's just, I just wanted you to be aware that there's more coming off your roof.
Oh,
those-
yeah,
that
absolutely.
you
They'll
think-
fill
than you
up in a
think.
heartbeat.
Yeah,
And
right.
then there'll be an overflow system. And I'll just have, what I did with the house originally is did French drains. I had somebody come in and do some stone pits, and all that gets taken away.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm fortunate that I've never had a problem with any water in the crock. I've never had a basement water issue. which
Okay.
I guess from one side to the other, it could change.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And are you aware of any other properties in the general vicinity that have structures this large, let's say, either with or without variances for setbacks?
There's a couple original barns on my street. One's literally 6 feet off but that's old, you know, the red one. That's been there a long time. Pole barns similar, there aren't a lot of, I'm on the east side of the road that has a few larger lots. No, I can't think of anybody offhand that has anything like that.
Okay. And have you, I just have to ask you, have you considered reducing the amount of items you have that require storage?
You sound just like my wife.
Oh, okay, I'll take that as a
That was her
compliment.
thing.
Yeah.
You know what it is? The T-Bird, I almost want to be buried in it. I'll have it
Yeah, I
forever.
get that.
The zero turn, I bought a really nice one about 4 or 5 years ago because I told Junior, you know what, I enjoy cutting the lawn, and I want a nice mower. It's a good-sized Ferris. We've got the snow blower, we've got the leaf sweeper. I have another small piece of property in Williamson that's with a little cabin on it. So I've got a good-sized wheel horse tractor. Then in the winter, I bring it home, do the maintenance on it, take care of it. So that's another item that's that's right now sitting in here till I figure out, bring it back for the season. Believe me, I am going to thin down, but I also just turned 60, and I'm looking at a couple years down the road wanting to retire, then I'm going to really enjoy some of this stuff. I'm going to enjoy going on my workshop in Putzen. I'll enjoy getting out cutting the grass. So I'm kind of setting myself up for retirement in a few years, too.
All right, so other than the car, it really seems like what you're storing and what you're asking to be stored are necessary or certainly useful for upkeep of the property.
Yes, for the most part, yes.
Okay, and obviously some children.
The T-Bird's useless, but hey, I love it.
Well, okay. All right, any other questions from the board? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
My name is Marilla Szymański. I live at 1237 Northrop Road, immediate neighbor to Mr. Hag. I do see a problem with a large building like that, with existing water, what we have at our property. I don't think the barrels and the overflow will take care of the water. We will have more, especially like April and May, we have water constantly on our yard. And this is too large and too close to comfort. This is way too close to our border. There is zoning for a reason. And my husband also cuts the grass every single week. And I don't see any reason for a large building like that in residential area so close to our property. Any questions for me?
Yeah. I got one. I got this picture. This is your yard, right? This is what you're talking about? You're on the other side of this white
Yes,
fence?
I am.
How big is that plastic building that you have?
The plastic building,
Well, whatever, the top of it or whatever I can see there.
it's a tent,
Okay.
yeah. As big as the neighbor's tent.
Mine's 20 by 10.
And it's the same?
Yeah, so it's awesome.
Okay, and then you have is that the top of a shed there too? Is there a
Yes,
shed
yes,
by
it
there?
is. Yeah.
Okay.
It's approximately
So
two.
where do you get the water? In the tent?
You want to, if you're going to
Yeah.
answer, you should come up here.
Yeah, I just want to know where the
I am
water.
very nervous, so, it's hard for
That's
me.
all right.
Oh, that's all
Take your
right.
time.
Yeah. No, I mean,
As I said earlier.
I'm just trying to get an understanding of how it's going to affect your property.
Usually the water is on the south side of the tent and behind the fence.
South side, north, south. So it would be here,
No, the other side,
the other
Other
side.
side of the fence.
Back here.
Yes.
right there,
Okay.
that area.
And in back of the tent.
Yes, basically. Like
So
about
that's here.
20 feet, 30 feet.
20 feet,
Because
30
that,
feet.
that side is about 6 inches to 1 foot lower than the neighbor's property. And there's no way to drain the water.
Mr. Grossmeyer?
Yeah.
I can
Hold on a
Wait a
second, let them,
Yeah. Let me finish with them. Let me look at this other picture, Dan, because I'm trying to get a visualization of how it will affect it, but I'm not sure it
And
will.
besides that, we have the vegetable garden, which is exactly in the line of the opening between
Yeah,
trees.
well, his new building
Right.
will be about where this is here. Am I correct?
It's exactly covering see the opening between
Yeah.
trees?
Yeah, so
With
it's here.
the hedge
This is-
ends, yes,
Okay.
that's how building starts. We have
But
about,
you said it was 20 foot in back of your plastic tent, so you're referring to here, right?
right.
Okay. Well, if he catches the water off of this thing,
Well,
I'm just asking you, if
No,
this is your
no,
opinion.
no,
If they catch the water off of there, will it add anything like 20 foot back?
I don't know.
we don't know that.
We don't know that. We will
All right.
know if you
All
will
right.
allow it.
No problem.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking your opinion,
We don't know that.
you know?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can guess.
Did he want to reply?
Well,
Ask
we'll
him
see.
to. Oop.
any other questions from the board?
Well, I think what I'm hearing you say is not only are you concerned about the drainage issue, but you feel that it's just too
Well,
close.
Too close, we need some privacy too. And, if you're going to put a mower over there and you're going to put all the equipment, we have the same equipment. And I think I am not against a pole barn, but do it the right way. Just go,
Little farther.
Little further. I am not opposed to the pole barn, absolutely not. I just want them to move it closer, to their area.
Sure. Okay, I just
Go
wanted to
with
be,
the zoning, whatever the zoning says.
right, I just wanted to be sure I understood
Yeah,
you. Thank
no,
you.
Okay,
Will it be visible from your
Yes.
house?
yeah.
But-
Even with the arborvitae?
No.
Well, the arborvitae covers only they'll be behind the arborvitae. And with the opening. And we have the vegetable garden, we're spending a lot of time in the backyard. And those exactly in the area
close is-
when we be
Well, how
exposed
close
to
you
it.
think
And
this
now
is that
we
affects?
have also a patio, and we will see that pole barn from our patio.
You can ask them that.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we have another question,
Sure.
okay? How close is your tent to the fence?
It's basically as
15 feet?
15 feet, yeah?
60 feet?
No, 15,
Oh,
about 15.
15, okay.
15, yes.
So theirs would be 20 foot away from the fence?
Yes, but that's a structure, that's not a tent, that's not a movable thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Anything else? Okay. Do you want to, sure, yep. Well, you're going to have to.
Gotta go up
I
there.
was just going to ask you, we have an aerial photograph up there that was folded in half, if I could show you that real quick.
This?
No, there's an actual,
Folded in half?
oh, right there, perfect. This gives you a pretty good indication of,
Not us, it doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
sorry.
put it up there because there was one in your application that's,
there was.
so go ahead and put
This-
that up
I
there
want-
and go, we got to make sure that you get picked up on the mic as well.
Oh, I can do that, sure.
It's right here.
Now, first thing I'll address real quick is the drainage issue. I did mention to you that this area gets a little swampy, is the only problem I ever have. That is because their property's higher on this side. I actually talked to the town when it was put in, because it was, they hit a spring, had to raise up the house, ended up being graded quite a bit. My complaint was it's gonna make this wet, and it did. But you know what, not a big deal. This area back here is pretty flat. Now, as far as the drainage issue, catching it on a roof and dumping it down isn't a lot more than the rain that would come down in that area to begin with. So it's not like there's a possibility of me flooding out on that area. If there was ever a problem, I could do a French drain like I did on the house. I could dig a pit back here behind it, and I could divert that into it. I've never had an issue with the house. Now, as far as the
So
view.
let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
About that. Since you said if there was ever a problem, you could do that.
I could plan it in the beginning. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, what could this board do to hold you to your word on that, let's say?
one of two ways. One, we could re-inspect it after a year and see if there are any issues with it. And then if we did, then I'd be obligated to put a French drain at that point.
So if the town engineer or someone representative of the town came out and said that, in his or her opinion, because of this addition, it has led to this water issue and therefore you need to address it, you're okay with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. If we had an issue, if they were to complain to the town came down and said, hey, your roof's dumping a lot of water off on that side, I'd say, no problem. Then I'll hold to a letter and we'll do the French drain.
But just logistically, how would you do that? Have somebody from the town inspect it after it's constructed to see what it was like before? And then come back a year later?
No, it's just to see if by building it affected water.
But how would you know that unless you looked at it before?
You have to look down on the ground and see water.
But
No, he's saying before and after.
You're not listening.
Yeah, you have to compare present circumstances to what might be in the future.
Yeah, and I would trust the town engineer to come out and say, hey, you know what? It does seem like a lot of water's flowing on that side. This is extremely flat, all back here. I mean, it's not like I'm up and whatever I dump here is gonna run over there.
Right.
I can make sure any and all, gutter system is diverted and dumped out right in the center. And there's virtually no way it's gonna on a flat land run back over to the other side. And like I say, if there were complaints within a year and the town engineer came out and said, hey, I think you are doing that, I'll say no problem.
And also be willing to consult with the engineer presently to have the engineer review your plans to address drainage now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. The other point I wanted to touch on, this, and I'll pass this around again, this shows it pretty good. This aerial photograph, you could see the little canvas structure I've got right there. You could see pretty much between that and the trailer that's sitting there exactly where the addition would go. The arborvitae stop right there. If you look at it from a patio right here, you're virtually not going to see. I mean, that one picture you have is pretty good, giving you an idea.
It's going to be built in here.
This is not going to obstruct anybody. And the gambrel roof is going to drop down on that side. I'm thinking maybe 10-foot sides, maybe 15-foot center, so you're only going to have 10 foot with a 6-foot roof. But this shows pretty good the view you would have from both sides.
Okay. I don't want to cut you off, anything,
Joe, can you pass it?
which one? The
That
folded one?
That says hand left. Yes, you know that. Thanks.
I think this one looks better.
Yeah, that's probably a good exhibit.
Hold on. The answer is yes, but just hold on.
See that?
Any other questions there? Nope. Okay. You have anything else?
No, sir.
All right, you want to come back up again?
Yeah, I just.
All right, wait till you get up there, because we got to be able to get you on the microphone.
Topography map of the area could be provided that our lot is lower than our neighbor lot. The house is on the elevation. That's because we had water when we were building the house. However, the lot is lower, approximately 2 inches than Mr. Huck's. And we do have a topography map for our lot.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, nobody else in the audience cares to speak about this, I'm assuming, since there's really nobody else here.
Oh, you're nothing, Ed.
Well, you know what I mean. Okay. All right, so the public hearings will be adjourned. We will take a brief recess and reconvene in the back of the room in about 4 minutes.
Sure.
Is that good enough for everybody?
Yep.
All right, thank you all very much. We're all set to go back into session deliberations. So okay, well, we can go right to the second application, because it looks like Marriott Lot.
Okay. I think it's a, yeah, I'm doing, what do you call it?
Eventually, I want you to go through that too, but
No, it's the, what do you call it?
Type 2, you're thinking?
Yeah, I think it's type 2, no significant things.
Requiring no further action?
once we determine it's a type 2, that there's no further action under
Required.
seeker.
Yep.
So your motion is to conclude that it is a type 2
Type 2,
action.
yep.
Second.
Mike seconds it. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, with this one, I understand the neighbor, he's gonna try and divert the water. If any you wanna put in a year from now or whatever, if there's any complaints, we can have the town engineer go out and take a look. I don't think there will be, because I think it's back past where the problems are. So I'll make a motion to approve this, okay? Whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood? No. Whether the benefits of an applicant be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue? I don't think so. I think it's placed properly without interfering with buildings that are there and trees that are there. Whether the proposed area variance will have an adverse effect on the impact, the environmental conditions in the neighborhood? I don't believe so. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created? Well, you always are. Because he bought the house, he's trying to keep it where it is, so yes.
Okay, so your motion is to approve the variance request. Did we get a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mike seconds it. You guys have any comments? I have some, but I don't want to jump in front of you.
So I'm wondering about whether the engineer should be looking at it beforehand
Well, I don't
as a
think you can-
baseline, as a, just maybe he will know, or she would know, whether there's going to be any issue just based
Well,
on experience.
Here's the situation with that. I'm just giving you my opinion.
Sure.
Okay. One that's gonna be the worst is spring, okay? And spring is already kind of sprung here. So it's not like, you know, he admitted there was water towards that side, but right now there's no water. So, I mean, to go look at it now, I'm not sure you can really assess it.
I guess I hear what you're saying, but I don't think there's anything wrong with asking the applicant to submit, what are you going to do with the, what's your plan for drainage with this project? Not necessarily to solve a problem, which may not exist, but you're putting a 900 square foot addition on, that's gonna be asphalt roof. Where's the water gonna go?
Well, I think he did already state that he's gonna put a gutter on that side
And that's
divert it to a barrel.
right.
So, I mean.
So I would just like to submit those plans to the.
Sure.
You know, not, I wouldn't suggest tabling this pending that, but I would just say make it a condition that the engineer have an opportunity to look at the plans. And, you know, I'm sure that if.
So compliant with any recommendations that the engineer may
Exactly.
have to
Exactly.
mitigate any
Potential.
potential
You know,
additional water.
when it comes to water, you know, where I live on Creek Street, I mean, there's only 10 foot in between the houses.
Right.
So it's funny, I mean, when the neighbor did some adjustment, I ended up with water in my basement, then a story. Truck drove back there with big wheels in between our house, created a little ditch about 5 foot between our houses, and I have no water anymore. So that's how, you know, 5 foot from my house, no water. I mean, this is gonna be 20 foot from the fence. And again, I don't know the contour of the land, but I agree to everything you guys were saying. If they wanna go take a look at it, and
Would you
I don't
include
think he has a problem with that.
a condition that there be a gutter on the one side.
Yes, that's what he talked about already.
Make it a
am-
condition.
And I am, just so you know, feel that this is an excessive variance. So
It's a what?
An excessive variance. So
Okay.
I'm not,
I mean, the variance
Necessary.
itself is, now that he owns this land, the town board has said, yes, you could have this size addition on there, okay? So
Right.
all we're really looking at is the variance from the
Setback.
fence. The
Correct.
setback, not the amount of the barn.
Understood.
But the setback, okay.
right. Got it.
Okay, so in terms of the standards here, whether an undesirable change will be produced, I agree with you, Joe. I think that it's a nice-looking property. They're all nice-looking properties, and that this will actually, even though it is a large addition, it will not create any undesirable change. It may even enhance the look of that particular property. That's why I asked the question about other similar buildings in the area, and there are a couple big barns in the area as well. Number two, I think the applicant demonstrated that he did consider other options, and he has reasons for not choosing those options: the preservation of the birch tree, the cost and difficulty of moving the gym, which is being used. He also demonstrated the need for the addition, largely based upon maintaining the property, not entirely, but largely based on that. Continuing down the list, I agree with Marie that this is a substantial variance. Whatever the percentage is of 50 feet, it's substantial. However, that's one factor of 5. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect on the physical and environmental conditions, I think we are, by conditioning these things, we are adequately addressing that possibility. And frankly, right now, there isn't any proof that there will be an adverse effect. It's just a possibility. We're going to have the engineer look for that reason. And then the fifth, self-created, absolutely, it is self-created. But in my opinion, balancing all 5 of these, I'm in favor of it as well.
I think you also should point out the fact that there's buffering that already exists, significant
Good
buffering.
point. Good point.
The tall arborvitaes would substantially block it almost totally from the house, from the neighbor's house. Not necessarily from the backyard, but, I mean, the buffering's already in place.
So that would be another finding of substantial current buffering. All right, so just for me to sum up, we have a motion to approve by Joe, a second. The motion includes conditions of submitting the plans, including plans for drainage, to the town engineer, and by whatever recommendations are made now. Excuse me. Additionally, after a year after construction is complete, or what permit do you issue at the end? A final approval or something?
Certificate of compliance.
Certificate of compliance. A year after that date, another visit by the engineer. And then the other findings that we've gone through as well. So any further comment on that? All right, a motion to approve in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. So, to number 1.
Okay, with regard to seeker, I'll make a motion that this is an unlisted action and issue a negative declaration that there's no significant adverse environmental impacts.
Okay, so I'll second that. So there is a motion to make a finding, a determination that this is unlisted, and having reviewed the application, we have kept our obligation with seeker, and it's your motion that there aren't any significant environmental impacts. So that we have that motion, and we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Excuse me a minute. Here are those things you want to put in the file.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve this application. As I stated as part of the public hearing, I've looked over, obviously I've visited the property site, I've looked over the resolution from 93. I can't really come up with a reason why the restrictions were put on, there. I think going through our steps here, the proposed sign is in harmony with the standards for permitted signs within the spirit of the article. They're actually decreasing the amount of the freestanding sign that's already in existence. Not a significant increase in height from 18 to 20 feet, which is presently allowed by code. I don't think it'll make it a little bit more visible from 441, not much. I don't think it'll have any impact one way or another on the surrounding properties. They're actually applying for a lot less signage than they would be permitted under the code, totally. Particularly the building mounted sign is well within what's allowed, and the total signage is well under what's allowed. I think it's compatible with the neighboring properties. It's really kind of isolated. The only really impact would be visually, would be probably on the dealerships that sit below it. And it's a reasonable sign on the building. It's not, the pylon sign isn't going to make a difference one way or another. Again, because of its location, I can't see it creating any hazard to the public in general or to neighboring properties. It doesn't interfere with the enjoyment of the public highways or neighboring properties. Necessary to adequately identify the business. I guess it depends on what adequately means. There was some testimony that it does help, that people have asked why there's no sign on the property, and certainly you would expect to have, in a hotel, to have a sign identifying on the building. So for those reasons, I would move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve with those findings, that all these standards have been met, and we have a second by Marie. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you for your thoughtful, thorough review.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Good night. Let's just make sure we've taken care. So the minutes, we're putting off to next month, the April minutes, so we'll have 2 sets of minutes then. And I think that's it. So unless there's any other business that I'm missing, we will stand adjourned, and good job. We'll see you next month. Thank you.